portion of the news brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Take a look at your screen. Authorities are seeking your help in finding this man, if we can bring it up. The only thing really that they can tell you is that he's between 5 feet 5 inches and 5 feet 9 inches. Police want to question him in connection with some shop breakings. Anyone who may know who this is can contact the police at 919 or crime tipsters at 328-TIPS.
Tourism Minister Obi Wilshcombe is making it clear who he supports as leader of the PLP.
In the final part of our series on Wilshcombe and the PLP leadership, the minister explains what he calls an underappreciated value of the leadership style of Mr. Christie. Here's Clint Watson.
He's punished for his good deeds, and he did so much to help people.
That's the view of Tourism Minister Obi Wilshcombe when he considers the public attacks that Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Perry Christie, has endured from members within the PLP, particularly those aspiring to leadership within the party. Minister Wilshcombe believes the leadership style of Prime Minister Christie is misunderstood.
People are unaware of his sensitivity to others, the fact that his policies are predicated upon his own lifestyle. When you talk about education, you got to appreciate Christie was thrown out of school. So when he talks about second chance, he knows what he's talking about. When you talk about what he wants to do with disability, remember he has a child who has challenges. And so when he speaks about these issues, you remember now, he's speaking about these issues predicated on his own beliefs, what he understands. Talk about the economy. Perry Christie is an interesting individual. He's conservative in nature, and he's not going to be the big spender, but he understands what it requires to build an economy.
Minister Wilshcombe believes the Prime Minister has a plan for the country and says he fully supports him.
Christie is, yes, 72, but he's not an old man. 72 these days is like 52. He's not an old man at all, and his brain's still working. It's when his brain goes off duty we should be concerned. But he's wide awake right now. He's working extremely hard. He's put together a team, different personalities. Takes a while for teams to gel sometimes. And I think he's been a victim of individuals who didn't have the patience.
And that patience is something the tourism minister says he learned a long time ago from Sir Lyndon. He said it led him to ensure he is prepared for when the opportunity does come. Political analysts predict Obi Wilshcombe could be setting himself up to become the running mate of the Prime Minister heading into November's national convention.
I'm still considering. The truth is, I've never put that out of my mind. I want it to be because I thought that I can serve well as a support, doing the heavy lifting for Christie. But at present, we do have a deputy leader, and so whatever decision you make is predicated upon a number of other things. But right now, my support is with Perry Christie.
Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
A compendium of 7 intellectual property bills were debated and passed in the Senate on Wednesday. Included are the Copyright Amendments Bill, the Patent Amendments Bill, the Trademarks Bill, and the Protection of New Plant Varieties Bill. In leading the debate, Leader of Government Business in the Upper Chamber, the Honorable Allison Maynard Gibson, says the bills intended to modernize the country's intellectual property regime are important pieces of legislation that will help the country meet its international obligations as it seeks ascension to the World Trade Organization. Senator the Honorable Keith Bell supported the bills on the basis that they will advance the country. He says Bahamians are very creative but have not been able to successfully commercialize their inventions through owning intellectual property.
This is why this is so critical, Madam President, this debate here today. This is simply not acceptable in any modern world. Our laws must recognize that we live in a global village and provide a framework for a Bahamian inventor to not only patent his idea, but as a country, we must work to ensure that Bahamian patents must have a reach beyond our shores. To facilitate this, our laws must provide an internationally acceptable framework which protects intellectual property rights. Today, these bills create the basis upon which that framework will be established.
Senator Lanisha Roll also contributed to the debate, calling intellectual property an oxymoron. She says the rich benefit, but the bills do not protect the small man. Roll says intellectual property laws will not benefit the poor, particularly in the present environment.
These provisions are not, and this is my opinion, designed to assist the average Bahamian under this, in my opinion, oppressive system. But it can serve to provide opportunity in a more modern, investor-friendly, we will do that with Bahama, inventor-friendly, entrepreneur and Bahamian-friendly environment.
With the financial services sector accounting directly for 15% of the country's GDP, those employed in the industry are being encouraged and empowered to enhance their professional skills to advance within the industry. Officially opening a two-day empowerment conference at the British Colonial Hilton Hotel, Minister of Financial Services, the Honourable Hope Strawn, says the theme, enhancing professionalism in financial services through innovation, education, and confidence, is a timely one, given the challenges facing the industry.
Today's financial services sector operates in a competitive and dynamic environment. Competitive in the sense that there are many financial centers offering the same services, and dynamic in the sense that change is constant. This highly regulated industry demands transparency and accountability in ever-increasing degrees. This places an obligation upon us to build capacity, to increase knowledge, to improve training, and to find untold amounts of resources.
As the Bahamas continues to demonstrate its commitment to being a well-regulated and compliant jurisdiction, Minister Strawn also underscored the necessity to change its closed shop policy towards foreign lawyers doing business here in the Bahamas.
As we continue to further our efforts and to innovate for the future, one area identified as crucial to the growth of the financial services sector in the Bahamas is to allow international law firms to establish business operations in the Bahamas. For the facilitation of cross-border business and arbitral matters. This will provide access to more jobs, and more jobs, while increasing the knowledge base of our legal professionals and also providing opportunity for the export of their knowledge to other jurisdictions. It will also provide substance to the jurisdiction as an international financial center.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
This is your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm C.S. Scatterly. Directors and executives of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation met with the Joint Provisional Liquidators for Bahama Tuesday in an effort to keep the lines of communication flowing between the business community and the stalled project. Chris Global Bahamas, along with UK-based Alex Partners, has been appointed the provisional liquidators by the Supreme Court. Chris's managing director, Edmund Ramming, led those discussions. Now, hours after that meeting between the Chamber and the Joint Provisional Liquidators, the Delaware court dismissed the cases, ruling the matter should be decided by courts in the Bahamas. The meeting was said to be open and cooperative. In other business news, the Grand Bahama Chamber of Commerce still accepting nominations for the 6th Annual Business Excellence Awards that honor outstanding Grand Bahamian businesses and executives. Entries for nominations should include the completed entry form and a summary of 100 words or less that explains why the nominee merits winning the award, highlights specific business and management practices, and illustrates the company's commitment to employees and the community. The deadline for nominations is October 2nd. And in international news, U.S. consumer prices unexpectedly fell in August as gasoline prices resumed their decline and a strong dollar curbed the cost of other goods, pointing to tame inflation that complicates the Federal Reserve's decision whether to hike interest rates. The Labor Department said on Wednesday its consumer price index slipped 0.1%, the first drop since January after edging up 0.1% in July. In the 12 months through August, the CPI rose 0.2% after a similar gain in July. This has been your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm C.S. Scatterly.
first-year students at Eugene Pt.2 Law School got an opportunity to gain some valuable insight into their future profession from Senate President and former Chief Magistrate, the Honorable Sharon Wilson. Wilson gave an overview of the legal profession and how it has changed over the years. She also challenged students to maintain the high standards expected in the profession and to do their part to bring positive change in the country once they become lawyers.
The practice of law is one which cannot be money-driven if it is to be done well. You know, students and persons who start out in this profession with no more than a desire to gain profits, chances are you're never going to be a successful attorney. It has to be underpinned by a desire to make a difference, firstly for your clients, but not only for your clients. You must do it for them. They're paying you to do it for them. But then there's also that obligation to use your training to make a positive difference in the wider community.
Wilson's visit was part of orientation exercises taking place this week at the law school. Principal Tanya Bastian-Galanes says it's all in an effort to provide a forum for students to learn from and interact with seasoned jurists.
The orientation program is designed to facilitate the transition of the student from the academic LLB program to the practice of law. And so this is a practical training program. During the week, they meet their tutors or lecturers who they're going to be in contact with over the course of their time here. In addition, they meet people who are involved in the profession, judges and lawyers and other supporting people in the profession.
A Bahamian makes headlines in South Florida over last night as he rescued 3 teens who were stranded at sea. Paul Miller says he was heading out for a relaxing fishing trip when he stumbled across the teens just a few miles off the coast of Florida. His rescue story was featured on NBC6 in South Florida last night. We caught up with the Hollywood, Florida resident today.
My friend and I, Charles Kirshner, we usually go fishing. Went out on Monday. Wasn't really catching anything at first. Went out about 12 miles and ran into these 3 kids that was basically stranded, and we tied them up to the back of our boat, and we started pulling them in, and boat started going side to side, their boat, and we stopped, called Coast Guard, and Coast Guard was out within about 20 minutes or so. We stayed with them, made sure that they were secure, and, Coast Guard came and took over.
Mayaguana may be in the extreme south, but its telecommunications sector is only heading north. In tonight's BTC Island Connection, how the island's chief counselor feels about the upgrade.
Mayaguana. It's just a hop, skip, and jump away from Acklins and Crooked Island. It's not recommended, but this visitor thought it would be fun to see one of the island's oldest landmarks, the Pirates' Well, up close. It's also where a capsule launched from Cape Canaveral containing the first ever color motion pictures of Earth taken from the edge of space landed back in 1960.
Hello.
This is home for Chief Counselor Shandika Charlton, who is happy that her far-flung and in many ways archaic island is in the loop with telecommunications service.
It made life in Mayaguana very much easier. We can now talk to our families far off. We have our cell phones. Like I said, the Wi-Fi, we could even Skype.
It's how she shares some FaceTime with her off-island relatives and friends.
Let me see if I get my daughter.
And when it's time to get studious, Charlton is happy that her constituents have a newfound source of information.
Not in a million years have I imagined this would have been happening in Mayaguana. Thank God it's here. Now they get, it's better and they'll learn with the school, and when it's time to do their exams, like they're with their BGCSE and the things like that, it's much easier. They don't have to be hurting their head where they're going to do research and all of that. They could just go straight to the internet now.
So a walk down a Mayaguana street may still offer the peace which is characteristic of Family Island life, but with some new, familiar features. Keishla Adderley for the BTC Island Connection.